Alright, so the Hawks are moving on from Trae Young, and Trae Young is moving on from the Hawks. Look, when I first heard this news, I was jumping up and down with joy because, look, as a Trae Young fan, he's been long overdue to leave Atlanta. And look, in my opinion, y'all, I think this is the first time the Hawks have had a good roster since 2021. They're just injured. And look, they're still the 10th seed. Trae Young, Porzingis, and Jalen Johnson, as a trio, have played 42 combined minutes. You're gonna trade him. You're gonna trade Trae Young, the player who's been carrying your franchise for 7 seasons, because he had one bad season. Because the team looks better than him, and you're the 10th seed. It makes no sense to me, but I know it makes a lot of sense to other people. Now look, I'm not saying that Trae Young's perfect. Obviously, bro's abysmal on defense. I don't think I have to say that. His shot selection, it just kills the team sometimes. But let's not act like this dude wasn't averaging over 10 assists and 20 points last season. Bro was one of the best point guards. And you're gonna trade him because of one bad season? I'm not a fan of it. But look, as a Trae Young fan, I'm hyped to see where bro's gonna go next. Look, the whole Hawks thing, it just didn't work out. The Hawks, just an ass organization, honestly. They just don't know what the hell they're doing. But I'm excited to see where Trae goes next, and hopefully the franchise's GM treats him better. Now look, I pretty much looked at every NBA team and I put Trae in their situation. Are they gonna be better? That's what I asked myself. And here are the few teams that I think he will generally change. I'ma save the best for last. Now for the first one, I got the Clippers. Look, obviously the Clippers have been on their shit recently. Kawhi looks like a fucking demon, even though I know he's not gonna be healthy by the postseason, but who cares? Damn, that voice cracked. But who cares? Bro's still him. And obviously you have James Harden, but I think Trae Young would fit in that Clippers system. Look, he already has an old teammate in John Collins who is having one of the best years of his career on the Clippers right now. He knows how to play in the team system. There's a lot of off-ball players on the Clippers. Kawhi can play off-ball. Chris Dunn can play off-ball. Batum, he could post up in the corners. The only problem I'd say is Trae fitting with James Harden. But I'm sure that's something that they can figure out. And look, if you're the Clippers, do you really have anything to lose right now? No, so I feel like you just go for the big shot. Plus, the Clippers, they need it right now. They need a point guard other than Harden to take the offensive liability off him. Get that stress off of Harden. And the Clippers just need scorers, man. And that's point blank period. So I think Trae Young would be a great fit for them. The Timberwolves. Look, I know the Timberwolves right now, they don't really got a point guard like that. Rob Dillingham, it just hasn't worked out. And I think it's unfair for Rob Dillingham because when you put a talented point guard on a team that you're not going to be utilized on and a team that's trying to contend, it's not really fair, right? You're not even really getting minutes. You put Rob on the Wizards, he looks like a demon. And they have DiVincenzo at point guard. I think the Timberwolves, they could really use Trae Young. Look, Trae Young, he could fit perfect with Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, obviously he's ball dominant, but I'm sure he could find a way to play with Trae. If Trae goes to the Timberwolves, I'll say this, he's gonna have to be a little bit unselfish. You know what I'm saying? Those shots they be chucking up sometimes, the half-court heaves, that shit gotta go. But in terms of off-ball players and playing in a team system, Trae fits good with the Wolves. Plus, Trae is amazing at getting big mans involved in offense. Rudy Gobert, obviously he's been abysmal for his whole career. Getting Trae Young would be an absolute lifesaver for Rudy Gobert, especially because Trae is amazing at throwing lobs. And it just works for the team, man. And if you're the Wolves, why not go for the big shot? You know what I'm saying? Now, in terms of who would they have to trade for Trae, I don't know. That's a whole different discussion that I'm not going to get into, but I think Trae on the Wolves, I just think it fits. Now, let's go to the East and let's look at the Bucks, who are 16-20. Look, the Bucks are one game from being in the play-in. But obviously, Giannis has had enough of Milwaukee just being dog shit and being a bad team. He's gonna want to leave there if they don't make any big moves. I think Trae Young, he could play great with Giannis. Miles Turner and Trae Young, that's gonna be a good fit. Obviously, Miles Turner, he could kind of beat on Onyeka Okongwu for Trae. Shoot the 3-pointers, roll to the rim. There's a lot of off-ball guys in Milwaukee that could play with Trae and fit right in the system. And I think just with Giannis, it's gonna be so much help having Trae because, look, the Bucks, they have nothing to lose right now. They literally have nothing to lose. They have to make this trade. They have to get Trae Young if they want the slightest chance of keeping Giannis. And if I'm the Bucks, I'm throwing everything at Trae Young but Giannis. I'm throwing Miles Turner, I'm throwing Ryan Rollins, all your first round picks, all your second round picks, and I gotta pay them at least over $1 million. You just gotta go crazy, man. Because if you're the Bucks, you need Giannis. And if you go get Trae Young, somebody who will completely change the team, Giannis is gonna be jumping up and down from joy. The other team in the East that I was thinking, Brooklyn Nets. Look, I know I've been yapping about it the whole video, but the Nets deadass have nothing to lose. If the Nets could get Trae Young, then they can move on from Cam Thomas, who's a guard himself, and they could kind of have like that franchise player, and they could build around him. They could build talent around him, and then they could start assembling a squad. So basically, Trae can be the first piece to being a competitive team. And I think that actually works well for the Nets because they have a lot of draft picks, they have a bright future, and I think in terms of building around Trae Young, it could be pretty easy for the Nets. I mean, all they have to do is draft the right people. And the Nets, they don't have much talent over there, if we're being for real. So if you're the Nets, this is basically just a check down pass on 1st and 10. You might as well go for Trae Young, right? Also, Trae Young and Nicholas Claxton, that would be one of the nastiest duos in the NBA. Claxton, a great defender, great at finishing around the rim. He's the master at catching lobs. Him and Trae will be perfect on offense. Now look, I'm gonna put this team as an honorable mention, the Pacers. Now I know y'all looking at me crazy. Tyrese Halliburton and Trae Young on the same team? Yes, honestly yes. And look, you gotta trade Siakam for Trae. Now look, Siakam, obviously his contract is taking up some space right now. I think if you put Trae Young on the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton, you're gonna see a revamped offense that is just amazing. I mean, you're gonna see the ball get past like the 2016 Warriors. The shooting, it will be crazy. And all you gotta do, get some defensive guys in the offseason, some free agents, you know what I'm saying? Make the team very defensive minded, and if they do that, then Trae Young, then the combo of Trae Young and Tyrese Halliburton, that's a championship duo right there. I mean, Trae Young, amazing playmaker, and Tyrese and Trae Young, they could both be catch and shoot players too. Both amazing at creating possessions, and the offense would just look beautiful, man. Now okay, the best team Trae Young can go to is the Washington Wizards. Now, I know y'all looking at me even more crazy right now, but look, the Wizards, they have a lot of young guys. They don't have a main young player right now that they're capitalizing around, which is perfect because Trae Young can take over the team. Look, Trae Young, dominant guard. He always has the ball. Amazing because in Washington, nobody's gonna take it away from him. Alex Sarr, he'll fit great next to Trae Young. Again, we'll see kind of a Kongwu Trae Young. Again, we'll see kind of a Kongwu Trae Young situation where Alex Sarr can come off screens, hit 3-pointers, he could roll to the rim, catch lobs, and he could finish really nice around the rim too. Also, amazing rim protector. Keyshawn George, great shooter, great 3-point sniper, and he's got off the ball too. And when you look at the team in general, they're actually really talented. And you didn't expect it from the Wizards out of all teams. But if Trae Young can go to the Wizards, they can get 40 wins next year. I don't think that's crazy. And they could be like the 8th seed. I don't think that's crazy at all. And it's only a matter of time before they become competitive naturally because they have so many draft picks and they have a lot of talented young guys too. Bilal being one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, that's going to help Trae Young a lot because obviously we know Trae Young, he's abysmal on defense. So Bilal can make up for that. Marvin Bagley could also fit with Trae Young in terms of just catching lobs and being a pick and roll player. So look, Trae Young, he's gonna literally fit perfect in that system in Washington. All Washington has to do is fire their coach because he's abysmal, whoever he is. But if we're being realistic, I know the Wizards are a terrible team. They've been historically terrible ever since the John Wall days. We gotta leave that past behind because they actually have some talented players. And if Trae Young can take over the team and Washington can build around Trae Young, they're going to be dangerous, man. I'd say they'd be championship contenders in 3 years, honestly, if they get Trae Young. If I'm Washington, I'm throwing everything at Trae Young, just like the Bucks. But that's just my thoughts, y'all. I want to hear what y'all have to say. Where do y'all think Trae Young is getting traded? Don't say the Knicks, motherfucker. If y'all like the video, leave a like, leave a sub, and turn on notifications. I'm not SGA, but call me Mr. Consistent. And until later, I'll see you on Mars. Peace.
You telling me you falling out of love with me. Hope you can find someone to love you better than I did. Taking our memories on love and treating it like nothing. taking our memories on love and treating it like gossip. It's my love for my grandmother, make me gentle when I care for you. Tell me you're falling out of love, breaking my heart in two.